In the year 2000, due to bipolar depression, I left off the Golden Gate Bridge to try to end my life. I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. I shattered 3 vertebrae. I have a metal plate and cage in my back. I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. Bring it. I get to feel that pain because I'm alive to experience it. It's still a gift. Does not, cannot, and will not ever take the pain away. It just transfers it on to everyone left behind and makes it entirely impossible for things to ever get better.
Kevin, again, thank you for being here. It's an honor to sit across from you on a laptop, I guess. But I appreciate your time. Everything I've seen about you and the way you speak and the work you're doing from where you've came from is truly inspiring. And I'm looking forward for the audience to hear your words because I'm sure it's going to help someone. So if you're cool, give an introduction, let people know who you are for anyone that may not know. We'd love to get the ball rolling.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, David, thank you for having me on Dead Talks. I really appreciate it. I do know a little bit about your podcast and your show and the work you do. So it's incredible to meet you and make your acquaintance here online. My name is Kevin Hines, and in the year 2000, due to bipolar depression, I left off the Golden Gate Bridge to try to end my life. I didn't want to die. I believed I had to. And those are 2 categorically different things. I was living with bipolar disorder, which I still live with today. I was on medication, but taking it haphazardly one day and not the next 7 days, and not for 7 days, or while binge drinking until blackout on the weekends while on psychotropic meds, which is very dangerous. I was in a lot of brain pain. What everyone else calls mental health struggles, I call brain pain, because your brain is an organ just like every other organ in the body, and it too can become diseased. And when it does, you're in big trouble. And one of the things that is really important to recognize is that brain pain, mental health struggles don't come from the brain. They are founded and born in the gut. Your gut to brain health is absolutely imperative to your mental well-being. And your gut microbiome houses and creates all of your body's and brain's serotonin and dopamine, affecting your mental well-being, causing things like depression, anxiety, mood swings, etc. And so when your gut health is poor, your brain health is poor. So I have spent the last couple of decades working to get a better gut health, to feed a better brain health, to be more mentally stable, and to live a better life. And when I left off the Golden Gate Bridge, it was easily, at the time, the worst day of my life. I believed I was worthless. I felt I had no value. I thought I had to die, but I was wrong. So I really do appreciate being on your show and being able to share this story on your platform with all of your listeners and viewers, because there are so many people out there today that are contemplating suicide, or who have attempted in the past and survived, or are contemplating it yet again, who are struggling so deeply with these terrible thoughts, who need an avenue to express themselves, need someone to hear them, to listen to them, to see them, and to empathize with them instead of judge them. And I want to be that person, that messenger for them in such a way that helps them to finally open up and tell the truth about their pain, so a pain shared can be a pain halved. So they don't have to go through that pain alone, and so that they can always survive that pain. So that they understand that suicide is never the solution to their problem, it is the problem. Suicidal ideations are the greatest liars we know. We don't have to listen to them. Suicide does not, cannot, and will not ever take the pain away. It just transfers it on to everyone left behind and makes it entirely impossible for things to ever get better. But with time, energy, effort, and a lot of hard work, things always get better. And that's what I want to express to the people that are following your feed, because I think that there are people out there that are battling through the depths of hell and don't know where to turn or who to talk to. And I want them to recognize that, in my situation, no one was coming to save me. I wish I had the willpower at the time of the event to save myself. So for all of you out there who are waiting for a savior, you need to be your own best advocate. You need to be your own superhero, and you need to fight to be well each and every day, to shift your perspective, to shift the narrative in your head, to change your perception about yourself and the people around you. The world doesn't owe you anything. If you think the world has the problem, it's you that has the issue, and you need to change. And that's a harsh thing to hear for some people. That's a hard, as they say, for lack of a better term, pill to swallow. But if you don't take 110% full responsibility for yourself and your actions, no one else will. I had to learn that the hard way. I had to go from, after my attempt off the Golden Gate Bridge, psych ward to psych ward. 10 psych ward stays from 2000 to 2019 for suicidal ideation. Thousands upon thousands of suicidal crises. But I never attempted again because I learned the tools to keep myself alive while suicidal. And I would do two things that I teach everyone I talk to. And I say this literally in every podcast I do. I say this in every speech I go to because it resonates with people in that kind of pain and the people that love them. And it is this: find a mirror, anywhere. If you are suicidal, look into that mirror and say these words: my thoughts do not have to become my actions. They can simply be my thoughts. They don't have to own, rule, or define what I do next if they're dangerous to myself or others. My thoughts do not have to become my actions if they're dangerous to myself or others. The next thing, and the most important thing you can do if suicidal, is turn to anyone willing to listen. And I promise you, David, if I was suicidal in this moment right here, right now, I would literally turn to you on this platform and I would say four simple but very effective words: I need help now. And David, if I did that, what would you do?
I would find a way to help you.
You would find a way to help me. You'd call my wife, you'd email you'd find a way to get me to safety in that moment. And most people, I'm sorry to say this, but I'm not sorry to say this, wonderfully to say this, most people are willing to put in the time with someone in dire straits. What we fear as a suicidal person is that no one will understand, no one will empathize, everyone will judge, and that's simply not the truth. And let me express why. I have lived with 24 years with these suicidal ideations, but I've never, ever attempted again because of those two things. My thoughts don't have to become my actions. They can simply be my thoughts, and I need help now. Every time I said I need help now, it wasn't always the first, second, third, fourth, even fifth person that I turned to that gave me that help, because not everybody can handle that kind of pain, let's be honest. But by the sheer probability of the number of people I turned to, somebody was always willing to answer the call. And to be fair, it was usually my lovely wife, Margaret. But when she wasn't around, people got behind me and made sure I was safe and kept me here. And so we have to get back to the idea that even in our most dire straits, even in our most vicious moments of despair, we can be the answer to saving ourselves.
This is just the beginning of the episode, man. Beautiful. That's an incredible start. And it's hard to follow up those words, but you said so many things in there that are so important. And I'm glad you are saying these things, because you already hit a lot of the bullet points that, I was going to bring up. But I want to backtrack in regards to that process of you feeling like you had to die, and then that transition where you said you were wrong. What was that middle point? What was that dash that caused that realization? Because that's something that, in your situation, you found out after the fact, right? That was after your attempt. So what is that process, even though it's different in every single case, I'm sure, of realizing that decision before you make the decision?
I mean, that's part of the reason we're doing this podcast, right? Is to show people that if they're in that dire strait, that they don't have to take that action, and that they are wrong if they think suicide is the only answer. Mm-hmm. It's think about it like this. Scientifically speaking, each of us on this planet had a 1 in 400 trillionth of a chance to simply be birthed into this world. All of us had a 1 in 400 trillionth of a chance to simply exist. That means we're meant to be here until our natural end, never to die by our hands. And, people who can't see past today, who believe that just because they're in a world of pain right now, that they'll be in a world of pain every day forever, it's an inaccurate statement unless you are in excruciating physical pain 24 hours a day, which is something I go through actually. Um, Unless you are physically in an ailment that is chronic every day, you're not going to be in that pain for the rest of your life. Just because you're in a world of pain today doesn't mean you don't get to have that beautiful tomorrow, but you have to be here to get there in the first place. And even if you are living with chronic physical pain like I do, I jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. I shattered 3 vertebrae. I have a metal plate and cage in my back and 4 metal pins. I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. Bring it. I get to feel that pain because I'm alive to experience it. It's still a gift. It's a matter of perspective. If you look at it the other way around, woe is me, poor me, I'm in pain every day. If you pity yourself, you then want pity from everybody around you, and you're wasting away. But if you say to yourself, I get to experience this pain because God decided that I get to stay on this planet a few years longer, all of our lives are short. None of us have cracked the code to immortality. Give yourself time plus hard work for things to change. And I think people, when they experience pain of any kind, mental pain, brain pain, physical pain, they get inside themselves and they go, this is going to be my forever. And so I can't survive it. I don't look at it like that. I used to look at it like that. Today, my mind is totally shifted. I hold gratitude inside my pain. And gratitude and resilience are the 2 most protective factors from suicide, no matter what you are going through. If you can hold gratitude inside your most harrowing moments, you can survive them.
I love that. And, I like how you kind of, in addition to everything you're saying, I feel like there's a lot of grace that comes with this as well, but also there just becomes a lot of fight. Like, there's like a little bit of a warrior in all of us that I think sometimes we need to ignite and understand that this life, even when it gets hard and, going through things I can't personally relate to, it comes with a fight. And it's like that, it's that mentality. How do you tap into that? Because, I believe everyone has that, but some people may just be more willing, if you will, to lay down and not have that fighter's mentality. Is that something that you've had to develop, or is that something you feel like you've had within you?
I feel like I've had that since the beginning because in grade and high school, I was bullied to no end by students that were much older than me, and bigger and stronger. And they harassed me, they hit me, they beat me, they cracked my skull open and I bled. It was brutal. 8th graders messing with a 4th grade kid. You know what I mean? It was bad. And as a matter of fact, when a friend of mine, Michael Bowie, who is, quote unquote, the biggest nerd in the school, skinny, scrawny, glasses, very thick glasses, everyone would torment him. When Nick Barsetti would hold his head down and say, swing, kid, swing, I took Mike, I moved him, and I said, do that to me because you're not doing that to him anymore. I don't even know where that came from, but I did it. And then, of course, Nick, being the big bully he was, did the same thing to me. And I'm part black, and he would say, swing the N-word, swing, as in swing your arms to try to fight away. And he would hold my head down. Mike Ramirez and Tony Rivera would push me over, and I'd fall over one of them and crack my head on the concrete and bleed. Like, it was bad because I didn't look like them. And I'm free to say their names. They know what they did if they're honest with themselves. And they were brutal. And I forgive them. I wish them nothing but all the wellness in the world. I want their success. I want them to thrive. What I don't want is for them to bully people for the rest of their lives. And I don't think they are. I think they've moved on. I think they've changed, which is great. Good for them. But I want to acknowledge what they did tore me to pieces and had a significant impact in me leaping off the Golden Gate Bridge at 19. The words we choose, the actions we take toward those around us have an absolute consequence and impact. So my suggestion to people is to learn to be strong for yourself, but to also be kind, compassionate, loving, and caring, empathetic, and lacking in all judgment to people around you who you don't know what they're going through. I don't know what Mike was going through, Ramirez or Tony Rivera were going through in their lives, or Nick Barsetti. I don't know if they were having trouble at home. I don't know if someone was bullying them in their lives, but I do know hurt people hurt people. So they were going through something at the time that this all happened. So that's why I actually empathize with them, wish them well, and wish them success, because I hope they got past all that, you know. And that grit inside me was from a very young age. I was always the defender. No matter if I got beat up or I got hit, I was always the defender. Somebody got messed up, I stepped in front of that kid and I stopped it. And then this would happen. I vividly remember I was on the wrestling team in high school, and two of the wrestlers were fighting outside of our own tournament. It was a whole mess, and they were calling each other names, and it was really bad. And I stepped in front, and I got clocked. And I knew that might happen, so I had to prepare myself. But that was always my role, and I did those things because I believed them to be right and just. But I stopped the fight, didn't I? So and and eventually those two foes became friends, and I bridged that gap. So I think that to round it back to your question, I think that grit and that resolve always resided in me from a young kid. And when I got older, and today when I travel, 300 days a year speaking, showing my films and all these kinds of things, I see the kid or kids in the audience in the high schools I go to and the grade schools I go to that are being tormented by their fellow students, and I speak directly to them. I see the students that are bullies, and I empathize with them in that moment, and I ask them, why do you hurt other people? Ask yourself the question, why you do this? And I cannot tell you how many times I get letters from the kids who are bullied that say, when you left, all the bullies went around the school saying sorry and meaning it. And we all decided to accept the apology and move forward, because maybe in an old weird world, we could all be friends. So it's about recognizing where people's pain points come from, guiding them to a different reality, and letting them decide for themselves to change.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned in many situations is outside of just my own experiences for myself, just trying to be there for other people is you can only do so much. It's not so much changing their mind. I think it's guiding them, as you mentioned, and ultimately having them or myself make the decision for me. Otherwise, the change is just never going to happen. In regards to that guidance, I'm curious what you think, because I've had situations, way in the past, trying to be that wanting to and feeling the need to try to be that person of help in certain cases where it wasn't asked, but it was, a call was made to me. And, it was this specific case with someone with bipolar. I was bipolar, and it was the first time having this interaction with someone who was really deep in the depths of it in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't. I didn't say a lot. I kind of was letting them get it out because there wasn't much of a window for me to interject. I didn't want to interject. I just wanted to listen. But it was also such foreign territory for me. I don't know if I handled it right. So my long about question is, what is the approach, I guess, for the person that is being the help to do it in the right way, if there even is a right way, because I know it's case to case, but someone that may respond negatively to asking them if they can get help if I'm not the person of help, you know what I mean? Like what is the way to go about that without being, I guess too much? Because I think when I gently found a moment, maybe 30, 40 minutes into the listening session, I was trying to express the right way of saying the words, are you open for help, like professional help? Like, I don't know if that word professional is such a trigger word where it can counteract the person that's receiving that message. Does that make sense? What is that? What is that dance to when you're in this situation?
It is a dance, isn't it? I think that, I think expressing kindness, love, and compassion first, letting them know you've got their back second, and then saying, look, I'm going to ask you some very pointed questions. I lack in any judgment. I only care. and I want you to tell me the absolute truth. And then you ask the questions to be very blunt. 3 questions. Are you thinking of killing yourself? Have you made plans to take your life? And do you have the means? Those 3 questions do not put the thought in someone's mind if it's not already there. They give them permission to speak on their pain, and a pain shared is a pain halved. People who are asked those questions, according to the crisis text lines AI algorithm, which is older than when all the AI was, it's in this AI craze right now, but we're talking about, 10 years ago when they started it, has determined that asking those 3 questions gets a more honest answer than the question, are you thinking of suicide, because of the taboo on the word suicide. It gets a more honest answer than, are you thinking of self-harm, because by definition, self-harm is not suicide, it's self-harm. It gets a more honest answer because you have just read their mind, in a sense, and they go, how did you know? And that's in a suicide prevention situation, to be very specific, right? So are you thinking of killing yourself? Have you made plans to take your life? Do you have the means? Gets a more honest answer than the other questions. When you get those answers, yes, it is time to sit down next to them and to stop talking and to listen to understand, not to respond. To say things intermittently like, what do you need from me to stay here? How can I help you move forward? What can we do to get you to tomorrow? And then when you're simply dealing with someone who is struggling with brain pain or mental health crisis or challenge or issue or struggle, and they don't need to go to a psych ward to be stopped from suicide. When you're dealing with that, that's really where the listening does come in as well, because you have to be open to hearing the things they're dealing with and getting to the root cause of the problem. You don't have to act as their therapist, you're not one, but you can simply be there in the moment. Express care and compassion, empathy, love, and lack of judgment, and say, I've got you. Now, when you get past whatever they're going to say, you say, hey, you sound like you're going through quite a bit. And I know when I went to therapy, it really helped me. Maybe it could help you. You don't need to push it on them and say, you have to do this and say, you need to go to therapy. People don't respond well to that. But to say, hey, I've gone through some similar things. I feel the pain you're going through. When I went to therapy, or my cousin went to therapy, they or he or they, she or my brother, he had a great result. Maybe it could help you. Maybe you could consider looking into it, and maybe I can help you do that. Mm-hmm. So they don't feel like they're going at it alone. I know from firsthand experience all over the world, meeting people where they're at, letting them make the decision to either live and survive, to change their perspective, or to go seek professional help, it empowers them. It gives them agency over their own brain pain. When they take agency of their own brain pain, they take responsibility for themselves and they feel empowered to change.
That's huge. And there's so many correlations there in regards to the idea of just listening. Is that is that one of the biggest factors in regards to why people are, maybe there's many factors, but why they would continue in this place? Is there a feel of you kind of tapped into it earlier, but a feeling like a burden and people aren't going to want to help, like you mentioned. So is it this idea that they keep to themselves more than expression, and expression is the first outlet towards getting through this?
Well, first, I want to say there are a lot of people who live in situations, familial situations, friend group situations, where friends and family genuinely don't want to hear what they have to say. There are a lot of broken families and broken friendships in this world. There are a lot of dysfunction. There's a lot of dysfunction in this world. There's a lot of abuse. There's a lot of neglect. In those situations, I've run into thousands of students, high school students, middle school students, college students who come up and say, I've been diagnosed with this brain health disorder, but my parents and family don't believe it's real. So they go home from a therapy session being validated. They get to their house, and from the moment they walk in the door, they're invalidated beyond measure. So let's be honest about that. But for all of the families that are well put together, that genuinely love each other, that treat each other with respect, there are a lot of kids, and I'm talking from 4th grade on up to college, who generally feel if I tell my family what I'm thinking, I'll be a burden to them. I'm alone. I have to keep this to myself. I can't tell anyone. To them, I say, stop, take a breath. If we don't talk about our problems, we can't solve our problems. And that's what drives me bananas with this whole topic of suicide in general on even social media and on your platform. Look, Ron, you're going to publish this, and there are some platforms, social media platforms in particular, that will stifle this conversation because of the topics we mentioned. We are not promoting death by your own hands. We are promoting prevention of death by your own hands, the stopping of suicide. That's what we're talking about. The safe harbor for people in pain, getting them to fight for their well-being, getting them to fight for their futures, and getting them to thriving despite of their pain. That's what we're talking about. But I'm dealing right now with a Facebook page that's been taken down because it talks about this topic, when I can prove through studies that I've been a part of that social media posts that include hope, healing, and recovery from brain pain actually scientifically are proven to save lives. It's the Papageno effect and the Werther effect. The Papageno effect states that if you talk about hope and help-seeking behaviors when you talk about suicide, you can save lives. The Werther effect states that if you only leave someone in pain, it could be dangerous to someone. I only deal with the first one. I only speak upon the issues with the first one, yet I'm shoved down on so many platforms because of the message I give. And I'm not going to change my message for anybody because I'm trying to be effective in helping to save lives. I get thousands upon thousands of letters every week saying that this message saved their life. I know what I'm doing is helping people. And there are far too many people out there that are advising social media platforms saying, if you talk about it at all, this will happen. It's not true. Forget safe messaging. I'm worried about effective messaging. Messaging that will get someone to stand up, go to therapy, do the work, solve their issue, and never attempt to take their life. But there's a lot of people around this country and around the globe that don't agree with that messaging and fear that. And they are damaging people left and right by not allowing our voices to be heard. It's very frustrating. Anyway, so
no, I'm with you on that. I'm happy you tapped into that because again, I think one of these episodes was a conversation around suicide, and I even made a post before. I was like, I want to give you guys a heads up. I get concerned that these conversations are stifled, and it pisses me off because I try to look at both sides to see the angle of maybe less effective dialogue, which could be more harmful. I understand that, but if that's the true idea of preventing those measures by reciprocity, you are preventing conversations like this. So you can't just get rid of one and you're getting rid of the other, which is it pisses me off.
It's really frustrating, and you cannot stop suicide without talking about suicide.
That's literally what we're talking about. The idea of people not talking about it.
We would never have gotten the nets raised at the Golden Gate Bridge to stop death there if we didn't talk about the things that occurred there, the thing that I did, right? So that success, the reduction in 83% reduction in suicides at the Golden Gate Bridge occurred because we talked about it. Wouldn't have occurred otherwise. So these safe messaging gurus are dying on their swords and not letting us save more lives, which is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. It's absolutely ludicrous. Yeah, I've seen it on my own platform, and it's I don't even know if it's going in that direction. I don't know if anything's being done, or I'm not sure if there's steps that you're taking, but it's something that I've even considered trying to figure out on the back end of not going after, that's the wrong word, but somehow mitigating that and getting through that, the algorithm, whatever is the safe messaging.
It's not so much about the algorithm as it is reaching the people at the heads of those platforms
Yes.
showing them the studies that we have proof that it saves lives. And so if we can get invited to the table, to the CEO level and the C-suite level of these organizations, these platforms, and say, here is the proof, the unequivocal proof that this saves lives. And they can stop fearing liability and start understanding that it's about the messaging, how you portray it, exactly what you say, how you say it, and the meaning behind help-seeking behaviors that save lives. Then we can turn this thing around and get more people who want to talk about these topics in both a safe and effective way. We could save so many more lives through our content. The problem is, frankly, there's far too much negative, hateful, spiteful, rageful, aggressive, dangerous content out there that gets free flow.
Yep.
And that hurts people. And I think that we need a rebalancing there. And we need to be able to have a seat at the table with these C-suites and say, listen to our measures, listen to the work we've done for 24 years on the topic, and here's the study that proves this works.
I couldn't agree more. That might be another discussion. I know you've already been doing this for so long, but it's something I feel passionate about in regards to getting this specific avenue through. But in regards to saving lives, there are two other avenues I want to go into. But one being how you're talking about the gut health. I would love to learn more information on that effect and maybe measures that people can take in regards to improving their gut health.
So things like prebiotics, probiotics, whole foods from Mother Earth, you know, whole lean meats and fishes. These are the things. The bottom line is whole foods is the answer to a lot of our mental health crisis and problems. It's not for everyone, but it's going to be an answer for a lot of people. We live in a society that is obsessed with processed foods, a society that has been eating out of plastic bags and boxes, and not Mother Earth. I think that what RFK Jr. is doing with the Maha movement is incredible. He is, I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not what I'm talking about. We can all agree that we need to optimize and prioritize America's health plan. And their health plan starts at the root cause, what we ingest. What we ingest determines sometimes our cancer levels. What we ingest certainly determines our brain and mental health. What we ingest determines our physical fitness. All these things we know to be true, right? So if all we focus on is literally fighting for anti-inflammatory food inclusion and the reduction of eating excess and processed and poisonous inflammatory foods, you're going to save so many lives, and you're going to save lives from suicide. You're going to save lives from physical health issues. You're going to save lives from chronic disease. And no one can disagree with that. That is a simple fact. Two types of food in the world: anti-inflammatory, inflammatory. Stop eating inflammatory foods. Watch your life completely change.
That's huge. And in regards to these measures of eating better, if you will, I'm sure it's obviously not only preventative, but does it have a lot of correlation to any of these long-term chronic measures in regards to the people are dealing with?
Yes. Why do you think that 60 to 70% of Americans live with chronic disease? I think it's 70% of all children are chronically diseased. That's maddening.
It's madness.
That's maddening. That's the definition of insanity. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. We need things to change. We need them to change right now.
It's crazy, yeah. And it's been around for so long now in regards to this conversation. So I really hope it does start shifting and people start realizing that the effect that, it's always correlated to the thoughts in our head. Obviously that's a big deal, but I feel like this is a little bit of a missing window that I personally haven't heard discussed.
No, look. Yeah. Okay. So to break it down in a very simple way, your gut microbiome as I said before, houses all your body's serotonin and dopamine, affecting your mental well-being. The levels of serotonin and dopamine in your brain affect your mental status and your brain health. And so, what you eat affects the cellular function of your brain. And so, if you are eating only inflammatory foods, you're releasing the titers who are fighting the antibodies in your brain, causing your brain to be unwell, causing symptoms of mental illness. Now, there's a larger problem here at scale, right? What about all of the lower income families who are on Section 8 and can't afford to go to Whole Foods or and purchase the lean meats, lean fishes, and the food from Mother Earth? They can't afford it. It's too expensive. That's a whole shift we need to make in the system to make those foods available for underserved communities who can't afford it. We don't want to be sitting here like the elite who can just, we'll just go buy the good food. Some people can't afford it. We need to make food for everyone at every price point so that people can afford it, so they can heal their brains, so they can heal their minds. Listen to this. The more inflammatory foods you eat, the more likely you are to be aberrantly violent.
Wow.
So the violence that occurs in certain neighborhoods is not just because of, drug wars and gang wars. It's often the foods being consumed in those neighborhoods affect the brain so much that they affect the levels of aggression in people that leads to violence. It's all scientifically based, and we can look all of this up. You can go to the AVL Foundation and learn all of this. Like it's wild.
Yeah, it's. I'm happy to hear this information, to get it out there. At the same time, the other side of my pain in the ass brain just gets me more frustrated that it's known and still nothing's done about it. In
Yeah,
many cases, when it clearly can be done.
yeah.
I do want to. There's another avenue that I wanted to tap into as a transition from the gut aspect. You said something very profound earlier in regards to you're not getting rid of the pain because you're kind of passing it over to those alive. Have you had a lot of experience with families on the other side of it, the ones that are grieving?
I've met tens of thousands of people who've lost their loved ones to suicide. I've been speaking about this topic for 24 years, all over the world. Not to mention all the people that write to me and share their stories. The level of grief you experience from a loss to suicide is like no other. Cancer, sure, you feel helpless. You can't do anything about it. You can't save the person if they're going down that path. You just pray they come into remission, right? Someone dies of a car accident, didn't see it coming. You couldn't save them. Someone dies by suicide. You are left for the rest of your life saying, what could I have done to save them? So it's not just a level of grief right here. It's a level of insurmountable guilt right here that you didn't do enough. So all the people watching your platform right now who have lost someone you know, love, or care about this way, let me make it abundantly clear. They didn't die because of you. They didn't die in spite of you. They died because of a lethal emotional pain that had nothing to do with you. Take the weight of that and the pressure of that pain off your shoulders, that guilt off your shoulders. It doesn't belong to you. Brush it off. Know that it was not your fault. I don't care if you got in a fight with them the moment before it happened. It was not your fault. You can't live with that kind of guilt. It will break you. That's why we see families who have one death by suicide have another and another and another. It starts off a chain reaction. My favorite teacher, my mentor, my hero, my friend, is like a second father to me, John Fennell, died of suicide. He was my hero. That made it an option for me. I didn't know about it until then. No blame left there for him. No blame. He's gone. But there was a connection point. It spurred the thought. I'm just blessed and lucky I got to live where he didn't. I've lost 19 people I care about to suicide. That's 19 too many. One is one too many. John was one too many. So to everyone watching this right now, if you're having those thoughts, take 40 resonance breaths before you do anything else. Inhale through your nose 4 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, release 6 to 8 seconds, pursed lips like a whistle but no sound. Do that 40 times. Do that morning, afternoon, and night. Do it every time you're having an anxiety attack. Do it every time you're having a depression. Do it every time you're having paranoid delusions or manic episodes or hallucinations, if you go through any of those things. Bring your body and your mind back to a calm. We're all going to pass away. Give yourself time plus hard work for things to change. We need you.
Thank you, Kevin. That was perfectly said. And there's so many important topics that you just discovered and just mentioned, not discovered, but your work is so incredibly important. I'm honored to just give you one more platform that I know you've been on plenty to share this. And to exit out of here, if there's anything that you feel like you want to say more, please do. But I would also love for you to share just a couple of resources, whether through you or anything that you think may be helpful for people that can use it on either side, whether you're a grieving family or you're someone that's going through it right now.
So to anybody who wants some help with what you're going through or wants to learn to be a wellness entrepreneur, you can just go to beacons.ai/Kevin Hines story and have all my resources right there, every one of them. Beacons, beacons.ai/Kevin Hines story. And that's KevinHinesStory. It has my community that I'm launching on March 26th this month. It has all of the movies we've made, produced and directed on there. It has all of my books, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Kevin Hines, with over 1,000 videos. We add about 3 a week, all designed to better your brain health. Take those, they're yours, they're free. And then we have several other resources that are great for your mental well-being.
Thank you, man. Again, this is a conversation that needs to be had. And again, back to what you're saying, the effectiveness. I'm not sure anyone else doing it more effective than you right now. So if there's any way for me to help in any capacity, it's something that I feel is incredibly important. I want to thank you for your time. As usual, for anyone listening, I'm going to put all his links that he just mentioned in the show notes for you to easily find it. And keep following this, man, because you're doing I don't want to say God's work, but you're doing someone's work that's a heavy cross to carry. So I appreciate you being here, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, David. I really appreciate you. Take care.
Thank you guys for listening. And until next time, thanks, Kevin.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Dead Talks. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button and also the notification bell. That'll give you updates as to when we post a new video, more episodes, and more content in general. We are streaming on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Pandora, and all that. And also find us on Instagram at Dead Talks Podcast or www.deadtalks.net. Thank you so much.